Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm posting this video in response to Andrew Ballina. He recently posted a video ranking the Halloween films from his least favorite to favorite. He asked for some video responses, so I wanted to give him one. The Halloween franchise is one of my favorite horror series, as I know it is for many people. Before I get started, though, I just want to say this is just my personal opinion, my personal ranking for the films. I'm not saying any of the films are better than others. If you guys don't agree, I do welcome comments and discussion. But please no arguments. I don't want anybody biting my head off because they don't agree with my ranking. As I said, this is just my personal opinion based on a few different factors. Some of these movies I grew up watching more than others, so I just seem to enjoy them more. But again, this is just my personal opinion. This isn't the definitive ranking of the Halloween film, so don't take it too seriously. Just wanted to have some fun with this. I also wanted to say I did not include the documentaries like Andrew did in his ranking, but I did include some different versions of the films. I pretty much own all different versions of all the films that have different versions. So, I pretty much had a lot to choose from. There were some that I decided not to include. For example, Halloween Homecoming, which is basically just the alternate cuts to Halloween Resurrection, has an opening, a different opening and also an alternate ending. But I felt other than those two scenes, it's really pretty much the same film, so I just decided to include Resurrection, which is the version that everybody knows. I also did not include the theatrical versions of Rob Zombie's Halloween films. I just decided to use his definitive director's cut versions for whatever reason. I did not include the Halloween 2 television cut either because I felt the extra scenes were just not substantial enough to merit its own inclusion in this ranking. There are other versions, though, of the films that I included, which I'll explain when I get to them. So I'm going to start with my least favorite now. As I said one more time, this is only my opinion. Please don't get mad at me if you guys don't agree. My least favorite in the series is Halloween Resurrection. Now I have to say I do enjoy the film, because I'm a Halloween fan. I'm a huge die-hard Halloween fan. As I said, one of my favorite horror series, if not my favorite. And while I do enjoy this, it's definitely the least for me. The storyline was probably good on paper, but I just don't think it was executed well. Maybe it was the cast or something, but it just really didn't work for me. I don't like the idea of Busta Rhymes taking out Michael Myers in the climax of the film. They're just not believable at all. Not that any of these movies are real, of course, but I mean, come on. Based on the rest of the films, Busta Rhymes basically, karate kicking Michael Myers and all that. I don't know. This doesn't fit into the rest of the context of the franchise for me. I do like the opening scene, with Laurie in the hospital. I also like the way they brought Michael back. I remember, watching H2O, and I was absolutely blown away by H2O. It's one of my favorite in the series. Love the film. Love the ending as well. And I remember, after watching H2O and, first reading that this was going to be released, thinking, how are they going to bring back Michael after H2O's ending? And, thinking it was going to be pretty stupid just to bring him back, but they actually executed that part very well. I like that storyline of him switching the bodies, with the paramedic and all that. That actually worked. I actually have no problem with that whatsoever. It's just, after that opening scene in the hospital, that's just where it gets weak for me. As I said, cool storyline, probably down on paper, but it just didn't work. I don't know. Could have been a lot better. That's just my opinion, though. Next, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Originally, this was probably my least favorite in the series when I first saw it. Saw this on opening night, and I just was not impressed. Especially because, I really enjoyed Rob Zombie's Halloween remake. But after watching this multiple times since, I have to say this movie did grow on me. There are a lot of scenes that I really like in this movie. I love the hospital scene. I know people have mixed thoughts on that one, but I really do love the hospital scene in this movie. I love the music, with Knights in White Satin playing. And I also like the Halloween party scene. I think that's a pretty cool, it almost has like this uncomfortable feel to it. And I really like that scene as well. So, I don't know. I enjoy it. I mean, so much as that it's, my second to least favorite in the series. But with that being said, I do enjoy this film a lot more than other people give it credit for. Next, I hate to have it this low on the list, but I have to. It's Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Now, I am not by any means a Halloween 3 hater. I actually love this film. I watch it every year around Halloween time. I think it's a great Halloween film. But with that being said, it doesn't include Michael, and the rest of the movies do include Michael Myers, which gives them, which gives them one up on this one, I guess. I love the atmosphere in this. You know, I like the characters. Tom Atkins is great, of course, but you know, as I said, unfortunately, it doesn't have Michael Myers, and I just much prefer the Michael Myers storyline, you know, to this one. Next, Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers. Of course, it's the theatrical cut, the final version of the film. Now, I am a fan of this movie. Don't get me wrong. I think it's one of the scarier, you know, additions to the series. With that being said, this movie is just a mess. If you're not a die-hard Halloween fan, if you don't know the story behind it, if you don't know about the producer's cut and what the movie was intended to be, then this movie is just a confusing, you know, mess. It was just edited badly. It doesn't really make any sense for, you know, just regular horror movie fans. You know, for example, you know, as a quick story, I have a friend who really likes horror movies. You know, she's not necessarily a die-hard Halloween fan, but she does like watching them. She watched this one for the first time, either last year or the year before, and she called me up after watching it because she was just confused about it. She didn't know what was going on. She had no idea, you know, what happened in the end, and it really does make sense. It's understandable that she didn't understand because she didn't know the backstory about it. So I ended up getting her a copy of the Halloween 6 Producers Cut, letting her watch that, and it made so much more sense to her. So yeah, they just didn't take that into consideration. They were trying to appeal to a wider audience, which is funny because in the sense I think this movie really doesn't work for a wider audience. It really only makes sense for those of us who are diehard fans and understand what the original intention was for the film. So yeah, I mean the climax is cool, as cool as it is with Michael going on that killing spree in the hospital, killing all those doctors. That part doesn't make sense either. You know, I mean, you have the story with the runes and the curse and all that. And all of a sudden, Michael just decides to go on a massacre and, you know, start hacking everybody up in the hospital. You know, gets beat up by Tommy Doyle. There's a random scream at the end from Loomis, and boom, the movie ends. Just doesn't make too much sense, so that's why it's just low on the list for me. Next, Rob Zombie's Halloween. This is the workprint version. Now, the reason I decided to include this one is because of the alternate ending, which I really love. You know, it doesn't include that final chase scene with Laurie and Michael, which is a big minus on this part, which is why this one's ranked so low on the list as well. But the fact is, I do like this cut of the film, and I really love the ending of it. I really wish there was a way they could have included both endings in Rob Zombie's final cut of the film. I know that would have been impossible, seeing as this ending and the other ending just can't work together because it just wouldn't make any sense for that to happen. But I really just wish there was a way that they could have meshed them together somehow, because I really do love the ending in the workprint version. Next, Halloween 2. I know I might get some hate for this one, but, you know, again, it's just my personal opinion. I do like this film. I've seen it a lot, don't get me wrong. I love the hospital setting, but there are just a few things that drag this movie for me. I mean, for one thing, I think it's definitely the slowest pace in the series. You know, don't get me wrong, there were some good suspense scenes, some I don't know, some uncomfortable scenes with Laurie in the hospital and with the music playing and all that, but it just seems to drag. There's certain parts in this movie that just drag, very slow paced, compared to the other films anyway. And the ending, I don't know, I've never been a huge fan of the ending. I don't really buy it at all that Laurie would shoot Michael in the eyes like that. That always kind of drives me nuts. At least if she shot him a few more times beforehand or something, or I don't know. But to shoot him in the eyes, I don't know. I mean, she's a pretty great shot to get him right in the eyes like that, whereas it took Loomis 7 shots to shoot him in the first movie and not even kill him. So, yeah, wasn't really feeling that ending. I know a lot of people are big fans of this movie, and I can understand that because it is definitely an entertaining one, to an extent. You know, there are some great kill scenes, of course. You know, the jacuzzi scene, for one, is one that comes to mind. I always enjoyed that, you know, her face basically melting in the hot water. That's pretty cool, but I don't know. As I said, for me, it's just the slowest pace in the series, and that's why I rank it so low. Next, Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. I know I'm ranking this higher than Halloween 2, but for me, I do prefer this one to Halloween 2. You know, for one thing, it continues the Jamie Lloyd storyline. Jamie Lloyd is my favorite character in the Halloween series, and this takes place right after Halloween 4, which is my favorite sequel in the series. So, I mean, that's a big plus for me. I agree with everybody when it comes to the house. I don't like that they use a different house. I do like the Michael unmasking scenes. I know a lot of people don't like those, the fact that Michael takes off the mask. And I know it's, you know, you don't really get to see his face too much in this one, even though he takes off the mask, but I don't know, I think it was well done. I think it's a pretty cool scene, especially when Jamie has him take the mask off at the end. I like that scene a lot. I don't like the whole clown music playing with the cops, and that's just kind of corny, I guess. But the thing I do like about this movie most is probably the whole slasher feel that it has to it. Whereas all the Halloween films are obviously slasher films, they never really feel like slasher films to me. They don't feel like a Friday the 13th type film or The Burning, or they don't have that 80s slasher film feel to it. However, this one does. While the rest of the films feel more like suspense films, and I don't know, there's more of a suspense element to them, which John Carpenter actually intended in the first place. This one actually feels like an 80s slasher film. It's cheesy in that 80s slasher film way, and I actually like that about it. That appeals to me because I love cheesy slasher films. So that's why I rank this one kind of in the middle of my list. Next, Halloween 666, The Origin of Michael Myers, also known as Halloween 6, The Producer's Cut. I absolutely love this cut of the film. This is the version that should have been released. I don't know why they thought to change it. I mean, I do know why, because I've read everything possible about the whole Halloween 6 situation, but this is the definitive version of Halloween 6. I almost just want to completely ignore the Curse of Michael Myers, which I usually do. I mean, if I'm ever having a marathon, I usually watch the Producer's Cut instead, because this is just the definitive cut of the film. It makes sense, it has an awesome storyline, and it has one of the best endings in the series for me. I absolutely love the ending in this movie. So if you guys haven't seen the Producer's Cut, what are you waiting for? Track down a copy. It can be a bit difficult to find a good quality version. If you can find this set right here, this is the one to get. This is the Ultimate Edition. It has 5 discs to it. It has the Producer's Cut, the Director's Cut, the Rough Cut, and the Television Cut. Also has a 5th bonus disc with all behind the scenes and a bunch of special features and stuff like that. So if you can track this down, it might be a little expensive, but it's definitely worth it. Definitely has the definitive cuts of the film. Absolutely love the Producer's Cut of Halloween 6. Next, Halloween, the Extended Edition, John Carpenter's original, of course. Now, the reason I wanted to include this one, over, say, Halloween 2, the Extended Edition, is because I think while the scenes in Halloween 2 aren't substantial enough to, as I said, merit its inclusion in this ranking, the scenes in this Extended Edition of Halloween really changed the film for me. And that's why I rank this one lower than John Carpenter's original theatrical cut of Halloween, because the extra scenes, while I do enjoy them, in this version that Michael is Laurie's brother, and that takes away from the suspense factor in the original film. If you don't know that Michael and Laurie are brother and sister when watching John Carpenter's original, I mean, how could you not know that at this point? But with that being said, I wish I was around when the original Halloween was first released, because I think that would be a big part of it for me. Would be not knowing why Michael is after Laurie. But however, in this Extended Edition, you find out it's because they're brother and sister, and that just kind of takes away from that suspense aspect of it, that surprise aspect of, and that question of why. Why is he after her? Why does he want to kill her so badly? And as I said, as much as I still love this Extended Edition, and I love the extra scenes that they included, that part kind of weakens it for me. Next, Rob Zombie's Halloween. As I said, I'm only including the unrated editions. I think this is a great remake. I really think it was well done. I love the backstory, and I actually love the second half of the film as well. I love the casting in it. I think it was great casting. I love that Danielle Harris came back for it. I mean, come on. Any scene with Danielle Harris is just awesome for me. She steals it for me every time. I'm a huge Danielle Harris fan, so having her come back in this, I think, was great. Plus the fact that, she played in Halloween 4 and 5, as we all know. I think it's cool that she got to come back and play a different character. And she was almost, in a sense, resurrected in the series, as well as Michael has been, so many times. So that was pretty much the best aspect, I think, of Rob Zombie's remake. I remember reading, before this came out, that Danielle Harris would return, and I was just so excited about it. And it definitely didn't let me down. Some great scenes in this. It's definitely a much more brutal version of Halloween, of course, but I really think Rob did a great job with it. Next, Halloween H2O, one of my favorite sequels. Absolutely love this. I love the cast in this one as well. It always feels a lot shorter than it is, and now it is a short film. It's only 86 minutes, but this one just flies by for me. It's such a great pace to the movie. It just keeps you entertained the entire time. I don't know. I really, really like this one. The ending is great, of course. It was great to see Laurie Strode come back. It was a great storyline there. I really liked the storyline they went with. I've always been curious, and I would have loved to see what was originally intended for this film with the helicopter scene taking off Michael's head. That would have been really cool to see. I know they couldn't do it because of budget issues and stuff, but would have loved to see that. But I definitely think the ending that they ended up with definitely works either way. With Laurie with the axe. I mean, that's just as powerful, probably even more powerful, I guess, than the helicopter scene. So, really cool. The ending definitely steals it for this movie, but absolutely love it anyway. Next, my favorite sequel in the series, Halloween 4: The Return of Michael Myers. I already really talked about this. Basically, Jamie Lloyd is my favorite character in the series. I love this movie. It has pretty much the best atmosphere since the original. It just has that Halloween feel to it. It actually looks like Halloween. And I have to say, it actually has more of a Halloween feel, I think, than John Carpenter's original. Because in this movie, you see more kids trick-or-treating, whereas in John Carpenter's original, you really don't see too many kids trick-or-treating, and maybe just a couple here and there. But in this one, there's actually kids on the street trick-or-treating. You get to see that part of it. And, I really like the scene with Jamie getting lost, and, and then the 4 different Michaels in the street. I always love that scene as well. There's just so much about this movie that I love, and it definitely has the best ending in the series for me. And finally, of course, John Carpenter's original Halloween. Do I need to say anything about this, guys? No. That's my ranking. Comment below. Let me know what you think.